So now that I'm 11 months into my BNI membership, I'm taking some time to reflect on some of the best advice I've gotten in my membership, as well as feedback and just like lessons I've learned. And one of the big ones that really stuck out is a conversation I had with the web developer in my chapter, Ashrut, because at that time that I was having the one-to-one with them, I had been watching a lot of BNI content and doing a lot of one-to-ones. And I kept on hearing people say like niche down, niche down. If you're not getting business just because people don't know what your niche is and you need to be specific. And so when I did this one-to-one with the web developer in my chapter, Ashrut, he was having problems because he was advertising what he was doing, but he wasn't getting a lot of referrals. And he thought that the reason was because of his pricing. And when he said that, I was like, like I said, I'm drinking the BNI Kool-Aid. And I was like, no, I wasn't very like aggressive or nothing. But I was like, no, I think the right way to go about it is just a niche down. Like this is what everybody's saying. And when I said that, he was like, because he'd been in BNI before our chapter, and so he'd seen a lot of things. And he was like, yo, no, I think it's just the pricing. Like I think that really is it. And I wasn't convinced when like fully convinced when the one-to-one ended. But then like the next week and definitely the next month, he raised his prices and he got a lot more referrals, like a crazy amount of referrals. And that taught me that like, yes, there's a lot of advice out here in BNI that's true or good or useful, but there's also so many different use cases, so many different fields and so many different like situations that are different that even though something can be good advice, it might not be like appropriate or like the most effective advice or the right advice to take. So now that's like changed my mindset where anytime in the one-to-one, one, I take everything with a grain of salt. So, what worked for that person might not work for me. But also like even if the person gives me advice that I don't think fits that well, it still could be good advice in some sense. And so for that reason, I've stopped pushing back when people give me like feedback or especially more so advice. Because before when people gave me advice during like one-to-ones, certain times they'd be like, well, I don't know if that really makes sense for the videography I do, or I don't really think that makes sense for the packages I do. And at the end of the day, like it makes more sense just to write down the information they give me. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But instead of telling them essentially that I didn't like the advice that they provided, I don't know, just I don't know. I'm just gonna write it down and see if it works. Or if I know it doesn't work, then don't do it. But I don't know. Like I think BNI is very useful for or has been very useful for teaching me a lot about business and procedures and how to market myself and how to explain myself, all these different things. But at the same time, I need to remember that while there are like principles that seem to work in general, what those principles actually look like, whether it's, I don't know, giver's gain or reciprocity or, um, I don't know, the ability to gain trust. Admittedly, I can't name the seven core values of BNI right now. But essentially, those principles remain true, but what they look like for every individual and every individual company, that might look completely different. So I'm going to make sure to keep that mindset as I move forward with different BNI one-to-ones. And yeah, if BNI sounds interesting to you, or you have any interest in visiting a chapter, especially my chapter, because my chapter is done remotely and it is focused in Bethesda, Maryland, but you can really join from anywhere. And so if you want to learn more or visit my chapter, please comment or please reach out via Instagram. I'd love to talk.